My GF said, "If you can't handle my friend's jokes, just pay and leave." So I stood up, took my keys, and walked out of the restaurant. Her friend's laughter died when they realized I only paid for my meal. Sup Reddit. At my girlfriend's promotion dinner, her friends tried to humiliate me. When I called it out, Chloe said, "If you don't like, just pay and leave." So I paid for my meal and left. Then I watched them all spiral. Here's what went down. So picture this. I, 27 male, live in Kansas City, have been running electrical for the better part of a decade, make decent money keeping the lights on around this town, and I restore Harleys because apparently I hate having disposable income and free weekends. I met my now ex Chloe 3 years ago at Howl at the Moon downtown. I was there with my buddy Hunter celebrating his promotion. She was there with her girls for some birthday celebration. We ended up talking at the bar for an hour about everything except work, which was refreshing as hell. Marketing coordinator, ambitious as hell, had this whole "I'm not like other girls" energy that sucked me right in. She seemed genuinely interested in my Harley restoration projects, asked intelligent questions, and laughed at my stories about job site disasters. For those first few months, I thought I'd hit the lottery. The red flags started small, like when I mentioned taking her to my buddy's barbecue competition, and she asked if there'd be normal people there too. Or when she saw me covered in grease after working on the bike and made this face like I'd tracked dog shit through her living room. Little comments about how I should dress better when we went to her work events, even though my one good suit cost more than most people's monthly car payments. Moved in together after 18 months because her lease was up and my place in Midtown had more space. Classic rookie mistake, but love makes you stupid sometimes. Should have gotten that in writing. Here's where I screwed up. Her friend group. 3 passive-aggressive princesses who'd perfected the art of the backhanded compliment. Betty, the ringleader who could make "bless your heart" sound like "go screw yourself." Brooke, who somehow turned every conversation into a humble brag competition. And Bianca, who specialized in those little comments that made you question whether you'd just been insulted or complimented. The thing about their bullshit was how subtle it was at first. Like when I smoked brisket for Chloe's birthday party last summer. Spent 14 hours babying that meat, got up at 4 a.m. to start the fire, the whole 9 yards. When her friends showed up, Betty examined my setup and said, "Oh wow, this is so authentic." Like something you'd see on one of those Food Network shows about, what do they call it? Comfort food? Brooke added, "It's so sweet that you did all this yourself. My boyfriend usually just makes reservations somewhere nice, but this is definitely more hands-on." Bianca smiled that razor blade smile and said, "Well, at least we know Alan's good with his hands. That's probably useful in your relationship, right, Chloe?" I could feel the insult buried in there somewhere, but when I called it out later, Chloe just laughed it off. "They're just being funny, Alan. Don't be so sensitive." Meeting the family, strike 2. It got worse when I brought her to meet my family in Liberty. My dad's a retired union electrician, mom works at the school district. Good people who raised us right on good values. During dinner, my mom was telling stories about dad's early days in the trade, how he worked double shifts to keep food on the table. I caught Chloe texting under the table and glimpsed her screen. Group chat with her girls. At Alan's family dinner. Very authentic working class experience. The house smells like fried everything Lowell. When my mom offered to send her home with leftovers, specifically her famous green bean casserole that I'd mentioned Chloe loved, Chloe touched her stomach and said, "Oh, that's so thoughtful, but I'm trying to watch my carbs." You know how it is. My mom's face fell for just a second before she recovered with a smile. On the drive back, I finally said something. That was pretty rude to my mom about the food. What? I was being polite. I can't help it if I have dietary restrictions. You don't have dietary restrictions. You ate pasta 3 nights this week. Alan, don't overanalyze everything. Your family is sweet. They're just different from what I'm used to. There's nothing wrong with that. Different. Right. The real turning point came at Hunter's housewarming party in Brookside. Hunter runs HVAC, makes bank doing it, and has zero filter when it comes to calling out bullshit. When Betty made some comment about how manual labor is so important for keeping society running, Hunter looked her dead in the eye and said, "Yeah, must be nice having someone else's sweat keep your air conditioning working while you sit in an office all day." The silence was deafening. Later, when Brooke mentioned how her marketing job was intellectually demanding, Hunter asked, "What's intellectually demanding about convincing people to buy shit they don't need?" I actually laughed. Honestly, she'd been asking for it all night. But on the drive home, Chloe tore into me. "Your friend was completely out of line tonight. He was rude and aggressive to my friends for no reason." For no reason? They've been making passive-aggressive comments all night. They were making conversation. You're being way too sensitive about this. And laughing when he attacked Brooke? That was embarrassing. It's embarrassing when he calls out their bullshit, but it's fine when they spend every social event taking subtle shots at my job and my family. They're not taking shots at anything. That's just how they talk. You're reading way too much into harmless comments. That became the pattern. They'd make their little comments, I'd call it out, and Chloe would tell me I was being too sensitive or reading into things. But the second Hunter or I fired back, suddenly I was being aggressive and embarrassing her. I started making excuses to skip their group events. Suddenly had a lot of electrical emergencies and Harley parts that needed immediate attention. Chloe noticed but didn't push it, which should have been another red flag waving in my face. Hunter kept warning me. Dude, they're conditioning you, making you think standing up for yourself is the problem while they get to say whatever they want. That's some psychological warfare shit. He was right, but I was in too deep to see it clearly. Then came the celebration dinner that changed everything. Chloe got bumped up to senior marketing coordinator last month. Good for her, honestly. She'd been grinding for that position, staying late, kissing ass, the whole corporate climb. When she told me, I was genuinely proud. Suggested we celebrate right. Take her and the whole crew to the Capitol Grill downtown. My treat. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Why would I willingly subject myself to an evening with the three horsewomen of the marketing apocalypse? 2 reasons. First, I actually loved this girl and wanted to celebrate her win. Second, I thought maybe if I was dropping serious cash on dinner, they'd dial back the hostility for one night. Spoiler alert. They got worse. Way worse. Setting the stage for disaster. Made reservations for 7 p.m., requested a quiet corner table. Figured I'd go all out. Appetizers, wine, whatever they wanted. Chloe looked incredible in this black dress I'd never seen before, and for about 5 minutes, I remembered why I fell for her in the first place. Then her friends showed up like the 4 horsewomen of the financial apocalypse. Betty strutted in wearing what looked like a designer outfit that probably cost more than my bike payment. Had this air about her like she was doing the restaurant a favor by existing in it. Brooke was in full influencer mode, taking photos of the breadbasket before she even ordered. Bianca looked like she was dressed for a hostile takeover. Drinks came first. I ordered a boulevard. They went for cocktails with names longer than most sentences and price tags to match. Everything started normal enough, talking about Chloe's new role, the salary bump, the corner office she'd be getting. Chloe was glowing, talking about her new responsibilities, the corporate retreat in Denver. I was genuinely happy for her success. Even started thinking maybe tonight would be different. Maybe her friends would actually behave like adults for once. Then the appetizers arrived, and apparently that was the signal for the blood sport to begin. So Alan, Betty started, cutting into her $18 shrimp cocktail like she was performing brain surgery. Still playing electrician? Here we go, I thought. But I kept it cool. Electrical work's been good to me. Keeps this city running. Must be nice having such a simple job, though, she continued, not even looking up. Just following basic instructions, right? Plug A into socket B? I felt that familiar tightness in my chest, but kept my voice level. Actually, electrical work requires extensive technical knowledge and problem solving. Modern commercial buildings have complex integrated systems that... Oh, please, Brooke cut in, practically rolling her eyes into the back of her skull. It's not like you need an education or anything. Meanwhile, Chloe's killing it in corporate communications, working with C-suite executives. Bianca jumped in without missing a beat. What's that thing you do with the motorcycles again? Waste money on scrap metal? I restore vintage Harleys, I said, probably too defensively. Just finished a '79 Shovelhead. It's a challenging hobby that requires... Hobby? Bianca laughed like I'd just told her I collected bottle caps. How much money do you piss away on those rust buckets? Chloe, girl, you could do so much better. Remember Derek from that digital marketing conference? Real estate development. Actual ambition. I looked at Chloe, waiting for her to say something. Anything. She was doing that uncomfortable laugh thing, shaking her head like, oh, you crazy kids, but not defending me. Not even slightly. The roasting continued through the main course. They called me a grease monkey, wondered out loud how I could possibly understand Chloe's complex marketing strategies. And Betty actually said I was lucky Chloe was willing to date down. Date down. Like I was some charity case she was doing community service with. You know, Brooke said, I honestly don't know what you two talk about. Like, what does Chloe discuss with someone who didn't go to college? Probably explains things real slow, Bianca chimed in. Use small words. That's when I set down my fork and looked directly at Chloe. All right, I think that's enough. She sighed like I was the one being unreasonable. Alan, they're just having fun. Don't be so sensitive. Sensitive? Bianca practically cackled. What, are you going to cry because we hurt your feelings? And that's when Chloe looked me dead in the eye and said the words that ended everything. Look, if you can't handle my friends being honest, you can just pay the bill and leave. The table went dead silent for exactly 3 seconds. Then Betty started that high-pitched giggle rich girls do when they think they've won something. She really said it, Betty whispered, but loud enough for half the restaurant to hear. I looked around the table. 4 women were staring at me, waiting to see what I'd do. Would I fold? Would I apologize and sit back down like a good little ATM? Would I beg Chloe to take it back? Nah, not tonight, Satan. Thanks for the suggestion, I said, standing up. I pulled out my wallet, did some quick math. My steak was $42, plus tip brought it to about $50. But I threw down 320s because I'm not a complete savage. This covers my meal, I announced to the table. Chloe's eyes went wide like a deer in headlights. Alan, sit down. Don't be dramatic. Dramatic. Right. Standing up for yourself is dramatic, but spending 2 hours verbally castrating someone is just good fun. I picked up my keys from the table. Enjoy the night. The entire restaurant seemed to pause as I walked toward the exit. Other diners had definitely heard the commotion. A few tables were staring openly. The hostess gave me a sympathetic look as I passed her station, and then I walked away. The laughter started before I even made it past the hostess stand. I heard Brooke clear as day. He'll be crawling back in 5 minutes. Watch. But here's the thing about walking away. Once you start, every step gets easier. By the time I hit the parking lot, I felt like I could breathe again for the first time in months. Got in my truck, sat there for a minute, and realized something. I wasn't angry. I was relieved. 3 years of relationship suddenly crystallized into one moment of clarity. This wasn't going to get better. She wasn't going to suddenly develop a spine and defend me. Her friends weren't going to magically become decent people. My phone started buzzing about 10 minutes into the drive home. First text from Chloe. Very funny. Come back and pay the bill. Then, Alan, this isn't cute anymore. Then, are you serious right now? Get back here. I kept driving toward Midtown. More texts rolled in, and I could practically feel the panic setting in as reality hit them. See? Here's what they didn't think through. They'd ordered like they were at someone else's wedding. Multiple appetizers, expensive steaks, cocktails that cost more than most people's car payments, dessert, wine. The bill was apparently close to $500. And I'd left $60. Chloe called 17 times on my drive home. I didn't answer a single one. By the time I pulled into my parking space, she'd left 4 voicemails that escalated from annoyed to furious, to what sounded like genuine panic. I went inside, grabbed a duffel bag, and packed enough clothes for a week. Toiletries, phone charger, the essentials. The whole time my phone kept buzzing like an angry hornet. Then I drove to Hunter's place in Brookside and knocked on his door at 11:30 p.m. Dude, he said when he saw me with my bag. Finally. Hunter had been telling me for 2 years that Chloe's friends were toxic and she was their enabler-in-chief. He'd witnessed it all. Crash here as long as you need, he said. My couch is your couch, brother. Also, I'm proud of you for finally growing a pair. For the first time in months, I wasn't walking on eggshells or bracing for the next verbal ambush. I was just free. My phone kept having seizures with incoming texts, but I turned it face down and went to sleep. Best sleep I'd had in years. Woke up the next morning to Hunter making coffee and my phone having a complete mental breakdown. The text assault had continued all night like some kind of digital carpet bombing campaign. From Chloe, I can't believe you humiliated me like that. My friends think you're pathetic. You left me with a $500 bill. This is so embarrassing. You need to Venmo me right now. Answer your freaking phone. But wait, there's more. Around 3 a.m., her 3 wise women decided to join the party. Betty sent me a dissertation about how I was financially abusive for tricking them into thinking I'd pay. Apparently, walking out after being told to walk out is trickery now. She also helpfully informed me that she was documenting everything for when Chloe takes you to court. Court? For what? Not paying for their entertainment? Brooke kept it simple but effective. You're a pathetic loser. Chloe deserves better than a man-child who can't take honest feedback about his limitations. But Bianca? She was the real MVP of stupidity. She sent me a Venmo request for $150 with the note reimbursement for emotional distress and Uber home. Emotional distress. I screenshot that golden nugget for posterity. You can't make this shit up. Hunter read over my shoulder while I scrolled through the carnage. Jesus Christ. It's like they're competing for biggest cunt of the year. I'm blocking all of them. Wait, Hunter said. that evil grin spreading across his face. Let me have some fun first. He grabbed my phone. To Betty, hey girl, Alan asked me to let you know he's really sorry, that your personality is so ugly it makes your face look good by comparison. Have a blessed day. To Brooke, Alan wanted me to tell you that calling someone a loser while begging them for money is peak irony. Also, your boyfriend Derek? He's been sliding into my cousin's DMs all week. Small world. To Bianca, Alan said to thank you for the Venmo request because he needed a good laugh. P.S. Charging someone for emotional distress after verbally abusing them all night is some next-level victim complex shit. Might want to therapy that. Then he blocked all of them and handed my phone back. There. Now they can go screw themselves in private. But they weren't done. Oh no, these entitled princesses were just getting started. Around noon, there was aggressive knocking on Hunter's door. Through the peephole, we could see Chloe with her whole crew, looking like they were about to storm the Bastille. Alan, I know you're in there, Chloe yelled loud enough for the whole complex to hear. This is ridiculous! You can't just run away from your responsibilities. My responsibilities. Right. My responsibility to be their emotional punching bag and foot the bill for the privilege. Hunter opened the door with that shark smile of his. Ladies, welcome to my humble abode. Can I interest you in some basic human decency? Oh wait, you're all fresh out. Where's Alan? Betty demanded. He needs to Venmo Chloe for last night. He's not here, Hunter said smoothly. But I'll be sure to pass along your message. Which was what exactly? Please pay us for the privilege of being verbally abused? Did I get that right? You don't understand, Bianca jumped in. He embarrassed us in public. People saw him walk out. Oh no, Hunter said, clutching his chest dramatically. People witnessed consequences for your actions? How traumatic. Have you considered therapy? Or basic human decency classes? Brooke tried to push past him. We know he's here. We're not leaving until he pays up. That's when Hunter's expression shifted. The smile disappeared. Ladies, you're trespassing on private property and harassing my tenant. You have 10 seconds to get back in your cars before I call the police. And trust me, explaining to the cops why you think someone owes you money for abuse is going to be a fun conversation. They stood there for 20 minutes after he closed the door, alternating between pounding and yelling. Finally, a neighbor called the complex office, and security made them leave. But here's where it gets really pathetic. They started a social media campaign. Chloe posted on Facebook about how I'd abandoned her with a huge bill after she generously offered to include me in her celebration. Betty shared it with a long rant about toxic masculinity and financial abuse. Brooke posted photos from the restaurant with captions about deadbeat boyfriends who can't handle successful women. They tagged me in everything. Tagged my family. Tagged my work's Facebook page. My mom called around 6 p.m. Honey, some girl is posting crazy stuff about you online. Says you stiffed her with a restaurant bill? It's a long story, Mom. The short version is I dated a spoiled brat and it didn't work out. Well, your sister saw it, and she's madder than a wet hen. She's in those comments defending you like it's World War III. God bless my sister. Looked at Facebook and found her in a full-scale war with Chloe's crew. She'd posted screenshots of their old comments about our family, particularly the aggressively working-class text. She'd also found photos from Chloe's Instagram at various expensive restaurants, and pointed out that someone who posts about $200 dinners every week probably isn't hurting for money. The comments section was a battlefield. Half the responses were from people I knew defending me, the other half from their friends talking about men who don't know how to treat women. Then Hunter showed up in the comments like the cavalry. He'd found Bianca's LinkedIn where she bragged about her luxury lifestyle and high standards. He posted side-by-side screenshots, Bianca's professional headshot next to her Venmo request for emotional damages. Professional marketing executive demanding payment for emotional distress caused by checks notes. Not getting a free meal. Not. This is peak 2025 right here, folks. The post went viral in the social circle. Not good viral. Bad viral. People started sharing it as an example of entitled behavior, and suddenly Chloe's professional reputation was getting dragged through the mud. That's when the real meltdown began. Decided to swing by the apartment Tuesday, while Chloe was at work to grab more of my stuff. Still had my key, still paid half the rent, so legally, I was golden. What I found inside made my blood pressure spike into the stratosphere. The first thing I noticed was the smell. Stale wine and takeout containers everywhere, plus what looked like the aftermath of a rage-induced cleaning spree. Found 2 noise complaint notices taped to the door. Apparently, their Monday night war council meeting got loud enough that multiple neighbors complained. That's going on our rental record. Thanks for that little parting gift. But then I started looking around more carefully, and my stomach dropped. My PlayStation was missing from the entertainment center. Found it hidden in her bedroom closet, probably thinking I wouldn't notice or wouldn't have the balls to confront her about it. But that was just the appetizer. She'd gone through my toolbox like a freaking burglar. Now, for context, I've been building my tool collection for 8 years. We're not talking about Home Depot specials here. This is professional-grade equipment that pays my rent. My Klein voltage tester, my Fluke multimeter that cost me $600, my specialty conduit benders, my wire strippers. This stuff is literally how I make a living. Half of it was gone. I started checking every drawer, every closet, every possible hiding spot. Found my socket set stashed under the bathroom sink, wrapped in one of her fancy towels. My cable puller was hidden behind winter coats, like she was stockpiling my shit for some kind of garage sale revenge fantasy. I pulled up Facebook Marketplace on my phone and found the listings posted by Chloe. My Klein tester listed for $75, worth $200. My Fluke multimeter for $300, worth $600. My conduit bender for $50, worth $150. All priced to move fast. I screenshot everything, making sure to capture the timestamps showing they were posted yesterday morning. Then I kept searching. That's when I found the bomb. She'd been in my garage workshop where I work on the Harley. The '79 shovelhead I'd been restoring for 8 months was listed on Craigslist. Project bike, needs work, $3,000 OBO. Must sell as soon as possible, moving out of state. $3,000. For a bike that's worth at least 12 grand in its current state. Probably 18 when I finish the restoration. A bike that isn't hers to sell. A bike that represents months of weekend work, research, hunting down original parts, rebuilding the engine. The listing had 7 inquiries already. People were seriously interested. One guy had already offered asking price and wanted to pick it up that weekend. I called the police non-emergency line immediately. "So she's selling your property without permission?" the dispatcher asked. "Correct. We cohabitate, but these are my personal belongings that I owned before the relationship. I have receipts and documentation proving ownership." "That's theft, sir. I can have an officer meet you at the residence to file a report." While I waited for the cop, I called Hunter. "Dude, I need your trailer. Emergency." "What's she done now?" "She's trying to sell my freaking Harley." "Are you serious?" "Jesus Christ, what a cunt. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Hunter showed up with his truck and trailer just as the police officer arrived. The cop was cool about it. Explained that while property disputes between cohabitants get complicated, selling someone else's stuff without permission is definitely theft, especially when I had clear documentation of ownership. "Document everything," he advised. "Keep screenshots of those listings. This is enough for charges if you decide to press them." We loaded up the shovel head along with every tool that hadn't been sold yet. Got everything valuable secured at Hunter's place before Chloe came home. My phone rang while the cop was still taking notes. "Mr. Wayne, the landlord." "Alan, I need to talk to you about the lease." "Chloe called saying you abandoned the apartment and wants you removed from the lease. Also, we've had 2 noise complaints this week. Please call me back." I stepped outside to call him back. He'd been my landlord for 3 years. Good guy, never had problems before this week. "She made it sound like you'd been gone for weeks," he said. "I've been gone 4 days because of a domestic situation. I'm at the apartment right now with a police officer filing a theft report." "Oh? She said you moved out permanently and refused to pay rent." "I haven't abandoned anything. In fact, if she wants off the lease, I'm happy to take it over solo. I can cover the full rent myself. Look, between you and me, I'd rather keep you as a tenant. You've never been late, never had complaints until this week. If you want to take over the lease alone, I'm open to that conversation." "What about the noise complaints?" "That's my concern, Alan. One more incident and I'll have grounds for eviction. The building has quiet hours, and apparently Monday night was pretty disruptive. After the cop left and we finished moving my stuff, I sat in my truck and took inventory. Tools stolen and listed for sale. Motorcycle almost sold. Noise complaints threatening my housing. Social media harassment campaign targeting my family and employer. And not once had Chloe actually apologized for what her friends said or acknowledged how messed up the whole dinner situation was. It was all about the money and her bruised ego. Time to stop playing defense and go on the attack. Here's the thing about dealing with entitled people. Sometimes you have to speak their language, and their language is consequences. Round 1. The theft charges. First, I filed the theft report. The police officer had been clear. What Chloe did constituted theft regardless of our relationship status. Armed with case number, I contacted her directly for the first time since the restaurant. "You have 24 hours to return all my property or I'm pressing charges," I texted. This includes tools currently listed on Facebook Marketplace under your name. Her response was immediate. Those are gifts. We lived together for 3 years. What's yours is mine. Wrong answer, sweetheart, called the detective handling my case. She's claiming the stolen property was gifts. I have receipts showing I purchased everything before we started dating. Text her back asking for documentation of these alleged gifts. When she can't provide any, we'll have her for theft and lying to police. I texted, please provide receipts or documentation showing these were gifts. Detective Morrison needs this for his report. Radio silence. Round 2, social media warfare. Meanwhile, Hunter was cooking up something beautiful on the social media front. See, Chloe's Facebook post about me had backfired spectacularly. The comments section was now 70% people calling her out for posting someone's business online, especially after they found out about the tool theft. But Hunter found the golden egg. Brooke's Instagram story from the night before, showing her at another expensive restaurant, complaining about cheap men who can't afford to treat women properly. Look at this. Hunter showed me his phone. Posted 8 hours after begging you for money. The freaking audacity. He screenshotted it and posted it as a reply to Chloe's Facebook drama. Interesting how someone who can't afford a $500 dinner can afford a $150 meal the next night. Almost like this isn't about money at all. The post got shared 247 times in Kansas City social media groups. Local restaurant workers started commenting about how they'd served these women before, and they were known for being demanding, rude, and bad tippers. One server from the Capitol Grill actually commented, I was working that night. They were incredibly rude to staff and left 0 tip on a $500 bill. The guy who walked out was the only polite one at the table. Round 3, the inside man. But the real knockout punch came from an unexpected source. Terrell, Bianca's boyfriend. He slid into my DMS. Dude, I saw what happened. Bianca showed me the texts they've been sending you. This is screwed up. Want to know something interesting about Bianca's financial situation? Turns out Bianca had been lying to everyone about her income. She'd been fired from her marketing job 3 weeks ago for repeatedly missing deadlines while networking, aka day drinking with the girls. She'd been living off credit cards and Terrell's paychecks while pretending to still have her salary. The Venmo request for emotional damages? She was literally broke and hoping I'd actually send money. I'm done with her entitled ass, Terrell told me. Watching her demand money from you after everything they said? That was my wake-up call. He sent me screenshots of their text conversation where Bianca called me a loser who doesn't know his place and said Chloe was slumming it with the help. The domino effect begins. Terrell moved out of their shared apartment that weekend. Without his income, Bianca couldn't afford her lifestyle or her half of the rent. Within days, she was begging on social media for temporary financial assistance during a career transition. You really can't write this level of irony. But I wasn't done yet. Not by a long shot. See, Chloe's employer had a social media policy. Very strict social media policy. Something about employees not posting content that could reflect negatively on the company's reputation. Her Facebook rant about our relationship? That mentioned her job title and company name in her bio. The harassment campaign? That was linked to her professional profile. I didn't report her. Didn't need to. Someone who worked with her saw the Facebook drama and recognized her name. Turns out publicly airing relationship drama while identifying yourself as a company employee violates several HR policies. She got called into a meeting Thursday morning, but the real masterpiece was what happened to Betty. Remember how she was documenting everything for when Chloe sued me? Well, she decided to escalate by creating a fake Google review for my electrical business, claiming I was unprofessional and unreliable. One problem. Business defamation is illegal in Missouri. Another problem. She was dumb enough to use her real name and linked Facebook profile. My business lawyer sent her a cease and desist letter Friday afternoon. The review disappeared within hours, but not before Hunter screenshotted it for evidence. Saturday morning, I went full scorched earth. Detective Morrison called Tuesday morning. She returned most of the tools to the police station yesterday. Claims they were misunderstandings about shared property. Still want to press charges? Absolutely. She also forged my signature on the Craigslist ad for my motorcycle. That's fraud. We'll add that to the report. The arraignment was scheduled for the following Friday. Chloe showed up with her high-priced lawyer, looking like she wanted to disappear into the courthouse floor. Her attorney tried the domestic dispute angle, claiming this was all relationship drama that got out of hand. The prosecutor wasn't buying it. Chloe's lawyer called me Thursday. Some fancy downtown firm. Dude wanted to work out a deal to avoid criminal charges. Offered compensation for inconvenience and to cover my legal fees if I drop everything. I told him my counteroffer, She pleads guilty to theft, pays full restitution, and stays the hell away from me. No deal on dropping charges. 8. He hung up on me. 5 minutes later, I got a Venmo payment for $1,847, apparently what she'd calculated as damages for the tools and her listing fees. Too little, too late, sweetheart. The preliminary hearing was brutal. Chloe showed up in a borrowed business suit looking like she was about to puke. When the judge asked me for documentation proving ownership, I had receipts going back 6 years plus photo evidence from my insurance policies. When he asked Chloe for any documentation showing these were gifts or shared property, her lawyer whispered frantically in her ear before admitting they had nothing. Boom. Guilty plea to misdemeanor theft. 1 year probation. $2,500 fine. Full restitution. The conviction went on her permanent record. Turns out actions have consequences. Wild concept. But that was just the beginning. Her company's background check policy required employees to disclose criminal convictions within 30 days. When HR found out about the theft charge, they started asking questions about her judgment and professionalism. The promotion? Officially rescinded. She got moved to a different department handling accounts nobody wanted. Mr. Wayne served her with eviction papers the same week. The noise complaints, combined with the police visits for the theft investigation, violated multiple lease terms. She had 30 days to vacate. Betty's fake Google review came back to bite her harder than she expected. My business lawyer filed a defamation lawsuit seeking $15,000 in damages for harm to my professional reputation. Her insurance company settled for $8,000 rather than go to trial, but dropped her coverage afterward. Good luck finding new insurance with a defamation settlement on your record. She also got fired 3 weeks later. Someone in HR saw her LinkedIn, where she'd been posting about dealing with difficult people and handling unprofessional contractors. They put 2 and 2 together and realized she was the subject of a defamation lawsuit while representing the company online, violated their social media policy and professional conduct standards. Brooke's downfall was pure mathematics. Her boyfriend Derek pulled her credit report during their lease renewal application and discovered she had $47,000 in credit card debt. She'd been living on borrowed money for 2 years. When he confronted her about the debt, she tried to convince him they were investments in their future together and that he should help pay them off. He moved out that weekend. Without Derek's income, she couldn't make minimum payments on the cards, had to sell her car, move back in with roommates, and take a second job bartending nights. The influencer lifestyle evaporated overnight, but Bianca won the championship belt for spectacular collapse. Terrell didn't just move out, he'd been documenting her financial abuse for months. The Venmo requests, the demands for expensive gifts, the way she'd run up restaurant bills and expect him to cover them. He sent all of it to a friend who worked in family law. The lawyer filed a restraining order on Terrell's behalf, citing emotional and financial manipulation. With the restraining order on her record, Bianca couldn't pass the background check for her new job at a marketing firm. She'd already been unemployed for 6 weeks and burned through her savings trying to maintain appearances. Her parents cut her off when they found out about the legal troubles. Apparently, getting served with court papers while living in their basement wasn't the temporary setback they'd been promised. Last I heard, she was working at a call center in Independence and living in a studio apartment that smells like cigarettes and disappointment. The friend group imploded entirely. When Chloe lost her income and apartment, she couldn't afford to be the meal ticket anymore. Betty was too broke from legal fees to pick up the slack. Brooke was working 2 jobs just to make rent. Bianca was persona non grata with a restraining order. They started blaming each other for everything. Bianca accused Chloe of destroying our lives by dating down. Betty claimed she was just being honest, and everyone else was too sensitive. Brooke said they were all toxic influences who'd corrupted her judgment. The group chats went silent. The dinner invitations stopped. 3 years of fake friendship dissolved the moment their financial situations couldn't support their lifestyle anymore. Meanwhile, I moved into my new place in the Crossroads district, finished the shovelhead restoration, and picked up enough side work to buy a second project bike. Hunter still brings Elsie's barbecue over on Sundays, and we work on motorcycles without anyone calling it a waste of money. Terrell stops by sometimes. We compare notes on our ex's latest legal troubles and marvel at how much better life gets when you stop subsidizing other people's entitlement. Life is good.